and St. Lawrence University for sponsoring this educational series. Before I introduce our presenter today, I want to run through a few items. First, your mics have been muted and your webcams have been disabled. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to type them into the chat window. We will answer all questions at the end of the presentation. Please note that this session is being recorded and will be available online through our member center at slcchamber.org after the webinar. We keep the webinars to under an hour so you can get back to work. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our presenter, Ryan Smith, Senior Business Development Associate for the Division of Minority and Women's Business Development. Ryan holds an MBA from the University at Albany. Prior to providing independent consulting and business development, he spent over a decade on commodities trading desk with an investment bank and several energy companies. Ryan joined Empire State Development's Division of Minority and Women's Business Development in November 2018. Today, Ryan will provide an overview of the New York State Minority and Women-Owned Business Enterprise Certification process. We'll hear the benefits of being MWBE certified with New York State, how to tackle the application process, common mistakes to avoid, and more. Ryan, the floor is yours.
Okay, Mike, I think we, did you all lose my screen?
Nope, I see it now. If you just want to go into slideshow mode, you should be okay.
Okay, it's funny because I lost you guys. I lost the screen, but just give me 1 second here.
Sure, no problem.
Hold the slides back up. Sorry for the delay, everyone. Just a little technical difficulties. I'm not in the office today, but thanks for the intro, Mike. So we're just going to cover a couple of the, kind of an overview of our program, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. Just opening up the presentation now. Really don't know what's going on today with these with this connection, but
so Mike,
with me.
what we see on the screen right now. Okay. All right. So you're going to restart the share, Ryan?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do here.
Okay.
I don't know. Like I said, everything just dropped. I lost all connection here. So.
Oh my.
It's May 1st, not April 1st, but feels like April Fool's Day.
It really does.
Just bear with us, everyone. We'll be ready to go in just one more moment. Hey, Ryan, if it helps, I can share the presentation on my screen, and we can just go from there.
Yeah, if you can, Mike. I don't know. My connection completely dropped off. So, what we're going to do here is try to, we'll try to move forward here.
Sure. Give me one moment. Okay. How's that, Ryan?
Okay, let me just. Really sorry for the delay, folks. Just take me a second here to reopen this presentation. Again, not sure what's going on with the connection here. I'm traveling. I travel around the state and do a lot of outreach, and I'm in Albany in a different office, so the connection is not behaving for us today. But it looks like it's loading now. It's just a little slow.
Hey Ryan, if you see my screen, I can just make you, give you control over the.
Actually, that's the problem. I lost the Zoom connection altogether. So what I'm going to do is we'll just go slide by slide. I'm pulling up the presentation right now. I'll just have to, have you navigate. I'll just let you know to proceed to the next slide, unfortunately.
Okay.
But so anyway, just as an introduction, everyone, as my presentation opens up here. So Empire State Development is basically the main economic development arm for New York State. And within Empire State Development is our division, and I'm with the Division of Minority and Women's Business Development. Empire State Development's mission is to basically promote a robust and prosperous economies throughout the state. And then, as I said, within the Empire State Development is the Division of Minority and Women's Business Development. Our mission is to promote equality for economic opportunities for MWBEs, and through essentially, we're trying to eliminate the barriers for their participation in New York State contracting opportunities. And we do that through a variety of means. We provide information resources that increase access opportunities for MWs throughout the state through outreach as well as training. We have our own webinars, and fortunately, they don't usually have this many technical glitches. We have our webinars on Tuesdays, and I'll cover that a little bit later in the presentation. But so again, we're trying to promote and assist MWBEs through outreach, training, technical assistance, and other ways, other support mechanisms in accessing opportunities for New York State contracts. So if we move to the next slide, Article 15A of the executive law basically is mandates, essentially created our division. It was enacted in 1988 and created the division, and it mandates us to issue regulations and oversee the state agency and authority contracting responsibilities for all the agencies for the MWBEs. And the purpose is to ensure that, again, that we're promoting equal opportunities for the MWBEs and participating in the state contracts. So Article 15A describes and basically identifies what minority groups are recognized under the article. And I'm going to go ahead and just read through them. The Black persons having origins in any of the Black African racial groups, Hispanic persons of Mexican, Puerto Rican, Dominican, Cuban, Central and South American descent, of either Indian or Hispanic or origin. And then Asian Pacific Islander persons having origin in any of the Far East countries, Southeast Asia, the Indian subcontinent, or the Pacific Islands. And then there's a Native American or Alaskan Native persons having origins in any of the original peoples of North America. So that really identifies who's eligible for our program. So if we move to the next slide, our division, our program was established, again, back in '88, but as recent as 2011, only below 10% of state contracting was allocated to minority and women business development. So in 2011, it was under 10%. In the last fiscal year, we achieved 28.6%. That's fiscal year 2018 and 2019, which ended in March of this year. So that's quite a impressive progress from 2011 to last fiscal year. But there's a lot of work to do that needs to be done. So Governor Cuomo created or established the 30% utilization goal for MWBEs in 2014. And that's for contracts over $25,000 in commodities and $100,000 in construction. Every state contract must identify the MW goals in the opportunity itself, and we'll look at some language a little bit later in the presentation. And all the state contracts, unless there are exceptions, will be subject to MWBE goals. And this even includes grant funds. If there's a project like that receive grants through an agency, Empire State Development does a lot of economic development funds. Most of these projects will also have MWBE goals. So just to list a few, some of the areas, some of the industries are commodities, construction, professional services, insurance services, legal and contracting, IT and marketing. Those are just a few of the main industries that we highlight, that we target, I should say. So moving to the next slide, you'll see our divisions broken into four main units. Most people are familiar with just one of these units, and that's certification, because we do, because that's where everyone, we process the applications for certification. So that's mostly how we're known. But there's three other units within the division: agency services, and we have a small team that works with all the 96 state agencies and authorities to ensure reporting, provide policy guidelines, and review the performance and utilization that the agencies perform, or to make sure that they're performing and achieving the 30% goal. Compliance is another area in which most people don't really have any interaction with, but compliance works with agencies as well as prime contractors to make sure that, again, that there's a good faith effort to achieve that 30% MWBE goal. And then, of course, I'm with the business development team. So we promote and develop MWBEs through, as I mentioned earlier, education, outreach, and some technical assistance programs. So those are the four main units within the division. And then as we move to the next slide, as I mentioned, certification is probably the most well-known and where most of the public has interaction with, because again, this is where the certification applications are processed. And under Article 15A of the Executive Law, any for-profit firm that is at least 51% owned, operated, and controlled by citizens or permanent resident aliens who are either a woman or a minority is eligible for certification. The requirements are, so for all the applicants, the certification group reviews all the documentation to make sure that the applicant meets the requirements. And the main requirements are that ownership, operation, and control must be real, substantial, and continuing, and exercise authority to independently control day-to-day business decisions. Independent, active, and in business in 1 year. And there's a personal net worth restriction of $3.5 million. And actually, it's probably a little closer to $4 million with inflation adjustments over the last few years. And small business restriction, that cannot be more than 300 full or part-time employees. So for more information on the requirements, you can always visit our website. Our website has all the information on there. But those are the main requirements that we're looking for when we're reviewing the applications. So on the next slide, you'll see the New York State contract system. That's a picture of the website. That is where the applicants, that's where you'll start your application if you're not certified already. The website's right there below. So if we go to the next slide, you'll see this is what it looks like when you start your application. You'll see certify or recertify with New York. You click on that. And it's really pretty straightforward. Once you're in there, the application process is basically determined on how or what type of business that you have. For example, if you're a sole proprietor, there are certain documents that are required for that. If you're an LLC, you'll have a few more different documents that are required. Or if you're a corporation, they'll have some unique documentation that's specific towards that type of organizational structure. And then, like I said, it's pretty straightforward. But the first thing, even before you certify, you want to build a profile for your company. This is a public profile so that you can be identified from, in searches. When someone's looking for MWBEs, they'll use our directory to search for firms. So your vendor profile is important because, as I said, it'll help you get identified through the search process. It acts as essentially your like an electronic business card. And again, this is accessible to prime contractors as well as state agencies and authorities. And ultimately, we hope that it leads to more business opportunities. So the important part is if you've been certified or if you already have a profile, it's very important to keep it up to date and current. We get a lot of, surprisingly, we get a lot of basic information such as emails. Bad emails, or if you change your email, you won't be able to receive any opportunity notices and any direct communications from agencies as well as prime contractors. So you want to make sure your email and your address and everything is accurate and up to date. And again, you can have a business profile without having a certification application submitted. So I highly recommend, if you're not already in there, to build a profile, and hopefully, some of you are certified, or if you're not, then this is where you want to begin your certification process. So moving on to the next slide, some of the benefits of getting certified. Again, when you're certified, you're going to be part of this directory. There's over 8,500 MWBE firms that are certified with New York State. Just to give you an idea, we are the largest MWBE program in the nation, and I think the second largest is the city of Philadelphia with I believe it's around 2,000 certified firms. So it goes to show how popular our program has been. So being a part of being a certified firm, you're part of this directory, and there's just many opportunities through state agencies and grant funds that your business might be able to participate in. You also have access to capital programs specific towards MWBE certified firms. One of them is the Bridge to Success Loan Program and the New York Surety Bond Assistance Program. These are programs are specifically geared towards certified firms. So you have some tailored capital programs for certified firms, which is nice. We also offer other capital programs for small businesses as well. If you're interested in that, you could always reach out to me to find out more about those. And also, being certified allows you to participate in tailored procurement searches. So a lot of times agencies will contact my team or prime contractors will contact my team to help them search for certified firms in our directory. So once you're certified, you will be we'll be able to find you, and hopefully this opens up for opportunities for you. And then in addition to that, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of the communications come through the directory for networking events, as well as other support and technical assistance training, such as our Tuesday webinar, Training Tuesdays webinars, which I mentioned a little bit earlier, and we'll touch base on that just in a few slides here. So again, being certified kind of links you to some of these other resources, and I'm going to talk about some of the specific programs in the next slide here. So under the business development umbrella, we offer technical assistance, education, and networking. The Training Tuesday webinars I've mentioned a couple of times. We also have, I mentioned the Bridge to Success. We also are conducting business builder boot camps throughout the state. And actually, we'll be in Potsdam, I believe it's July 17th. But we can provide that information for you. And we'll be going over certification presentation, as well as some strategies and how to contract, or how to capitalize on your certification and identify state contracting opportunities, as well as you can meet with one of us. If you have your certification application in, you can meet with myself or my colleague Michelle to find out the status of your application. We can have a one-on-one meeting to discuss that. So look for more information. Mike will be glad to share that with you all as well. We'll be sending out or creating our flyers shortly, but again, that'll be in mid-July. And then we also provide technical assistance, both internally as well as we connect our certified firms through our technical assistance providers. That's the small business development centers, that's their PTACs that are in the area, as well as our entrepreneurial assistance program partners that are funded through Empire State Development. All these are great resources for our team. If you're a small business and you haven't reached out to some of the small business development centers or the PTACs, I definitely recommend that. They have great resources, a lot of great programs, and most of those are free of charge. So we work very well with local partners throughout the state. And our regional expos are also coming up. We're having our first expo in New York City on June 7th, and then we'll be in Auburn, New York on June 27th, and then in Buffalo on July 25th. So these are bigger events where you get to meet some of the state agencies as well as attend some of the workshops. So if you haven't attended the expos, hopefully we'll see you at one of our expos. And then we also have an initiative called the Business Growth Accelerator. And what that is we partnered with 3 different organizations to basically have a structured program to help our certified firms identify gaps in their capabilities. And it's a structured program that entails one-on-one counseling as well as classroom sessions to help build capacity to our certified firms so that they can grow and close some of those gaps, and hopefully connect with some of our state contracting opportunities. So moving to the next slide, we will, this is where I've mentioned a couple of times, the Training Tuesday webinar series. We try to mix up the content to our webinars, and again, sorry for the delay and the technical glitches. We don't usually have those, although with technology it does occur. But so some of the topics that we have are doing business with New York State agencies. We'll have, for example, in May, one of the webinars will be with the Office of General Services. Another webinar is going to be with the Office of Information and Technology Services, OITS. So we try to mix up our content, periodically. We also often have certification webinars, as well as sharing best practices. And we're actually on May 7th, we're going to have a webinar that discusses some of the capital programs. So if you're interested in that, the link at the bottom of the page here, you can visit that site for the full webinar schedule, and you can also register for our upcoming webinars. If you have any issues with that, you can contact me as well. And Mike, I'll make sure Mike has that information as well. So moving on to the next, I'd mentioned technical assistance, and I mentioned both the EAPs, the PTACs, as well as the small business development centers. Here's a little information about that. Again, these are all great resources for our division. The Entrepreneurial Assistance Centers, they provide in-depth assistance for startup businesses as well as entrepreneurs. And one of the areas in which our EAPs help us is they assist you if you want to sit down with them and work. They'll assist you with your certification application. So they've been a great help for us. So if you like one-on-one assistance with your certification application, we could connect you with an Entrepreneurial Assistance Center. The PTACs are also great because the Procurement Technical Assistance Centers, they basically began years ago as a means for the Department of Defense to expand and diversify their supply chain for government contracting specifically for the Department of Defense. And then over the years, they've sort of morphed and expanded into all government contracting, not only federally, but also state and local municipalities as well. So they're a great resource if your business, or if you're trying to do more business with government procurements. And they do a lot of great outreach events. I was at a great matchmaker in Watertown earlier, about a few weeks back, maybe about a month ago. So they're a great resource for us as well. And I mentioned the Small Business Development Centers. They provide a lot of great programs for small businesses, from everything from, computer programs, whether it's Excel or QuickBooks, or maybe your business, you want to create a business plan, a more formal business plan. The Small Business Development Centers are a great resource. If you haven't visited one, I definitely recommend. They have a lot of great programs. And again, a lot of those services are free. So that's even better. And another thing that our Small Business Development Unit is in the process of revamping is Business Mentor New York. It's a free social network that allows entrepreneurs and businesses to connect so that they can solve, maybe challenges that they're facing as a small business. You can connect with a mentor that has maybe more experience and, some experiences that you can learn from. So that's a good program that our Small Business Development Center is in the process of revamping. But for more information, you can visit that link there on the bottom of the page there, or I can connect you directly with one of our small business development or our small business team members. So on the next slide, this is a highlight of some of our upcoming expos and our regional boot camps. As I mentioned, the boot camp in the North Country will be on July 17th at the college, SUNY Potsdam. We'll have more details over the next couple of weeks, but put that on your radar. I would love to meet everyone in person. So you'll hear more about that in the coming weeks. And then, as I mentioned, the expos are in New York City, Central New York, as well as Western New York. And then we also have a boot camp in the Finger Lakes region. That'll be in Canandaigua, as well as in the southern tier in Elmira. So hopefully you can attend either our boot camps or one of our expos. It'd be great. They're great events. The boot camps are great to learn a little bit more in depth about our certification, as well as strategies and how to accessing, different state contracts and working with state agencies. So moving to the next slide. Once you're certified, or even before you're certified, the New York State Contract Reporter is the official procurement site for all New York State agencies. This is another site where I definitely recommend you register. It's free. You can create your business profile in there if you haven't already. And this is the main site where the state agencies advertise all their procurement. And all procurements over $50,000, the agencies are required by state law to advertise those opportunities to the public. So if you're interested in learning more and seeing what kind of opportunities are out there, visit New York State Contract Reporter. There's a lot of great information in there. A lot of the times events will also be posted. You can look for upcoming events as well as the procurement opportunities. Another good resource for us is the New York State Contract Opportunities Ebook. My division publishes this every year at our statewide forum. Our statewide forum is in October every year in Albany, New York, and it'll be October 2nd and 3rd this year. Again, as we get closer, you'll hear more about that. But this is a great, I definitely recommend taking a look at this. This is a great directory of all the state agencies and authorities. What's nice about it is it has key personnel listed right there on the site. If you're interested in connecting with the procurement officers, many of them are listed right there, as well as a lot of them have direct links for the opportunities that particular agency has. So if you're interested in learning about what type of opportunities each agency has, there's each of these pages that highlight the agency will have a link for their own opportunity. So definitely check out the Opportunities ebook. And at the end of that ebook, there's actually some good information about the program, our program, as well as some of the access to capital programs that we offer. And then the New York State contract system, I mentioned that earlier. This is where you will begin your certification process, your application, as well as you can build your profile so that you can, so that your business can be identified in a search from the agencies as well as prime contractors as well. And again, that information or that website link is there as well. So moving on, we're going to touch base a little bit more in depth on, I mentioned the contract reporter, as well as another site that we often refer our certified firms is the Open Book New York. We're going to touch base on both of these here on the next couple of slides. So moving to the next slide. The next slide is again the sort of the homepage of the New York State Contract Reporter. And again, up on the right, you can click on the register. It's free. I highly recommend you build a profile. There's a lot of great information on this website. Again, events as well as procurement opportunities. And you could also, what's nice about this site is you can create email alerts. For example, let's say you want to hear about all the architecture opportunities that all the state agencies advertise on this site. You can create an email alert to have that email to your inbox on a daily basis or whatever, how often, or how, you know, you'll receive an email every day if there's a new opportunity every day. So if you're looking for different industries, you can highlight, I think, up to like 16 different search categories so that you can learn a little bit more about what type of opportunities the agencies have. It's a great feature. I to this day, I still get emails every day with different opportunities. So I recommend you utilize that feature. So if we go to the next page, we're going to look at the contract reporter. Again, this is where all the agencies advertise their requests for proposals, as well as a lot of their discretionary spending as well. So if we move on to the next slide, this is an example I mentioned earlier where there will be MWBE goals for the procurement opportunities. And you'll see in the circled area, there's a minority-owned subcontracting goal of 15%, and then a woman-owned subcontracting goal of 15%. So this is what you want to look for when you're doing your search. If you open an ad for an opportunity, you'll see that, you know, what the goals are set for that particular opportunity. The key here is if you are in a position to respond to an opportunity, you really want to pay attention to the due date. I've had several people contact me after the due date asking if there's an extension. Unfortunately, the agencies are mandated by very strict guidelines when it comes to this. So if you miss the due date, you're going to miss that opportunity. So really pay attention to that information when you're looking at these advertisements for the opportunities. So moving to the next slide, you'll see that it's a little small, but what I'm trying to highlight on this slide is on the lower left-hand side, you'll see a discretionary opportunity of $50,000 and $200,000. Discretionary opportunities, I mentioned earlier that all advertisements all procurements over $50,000 have to be advertised. For most state agencies, if they're under $50,000, that's considered a discretionary spend, and there's not the formal RFP process. The agency can do business with you on a much less, outside the official RFP process. What this does, and what's nice being certified as a certified firm, that threshold for discretionary spend is $200,000 as opposed to $50,000 for many other businesses. So it opens up a lot more opportunities. So the discretionary spending is a great opportunity for our certified firms. And within this advertisement, you can see some of the discretionary spending will be specifically targeted towards our certified firms. So it's kind of, it's a bonus. These are set aside specifically for certified firms. And again, it's a little small, but there's language in there that you can see that it's specifically for certified MWBE firms and small businesses. So when you're looking at different advertisements, and particularly the discretionary advertisements, you can see the ones that are set aside specifically for certified firms. So on the next slide, I'm going to highlight the Open Book New York. This is a great resource. If you're interested in seeing what agencies, what they've procured in the past, this is a great resource. You can search by agency or vendor. You can also see contract numbers as well as vendors, amounts, and what they've spent to date. How I use this, I help certified firms identify if they're interested, if they're not sure what agencies are procuring their goods or services. I usually start here with the Open Book. You can go back several years, and what's nice about it is you'll see every contract that the state has, every procurement opportunity that the state has contracted for in the past. And what's nice about this is what I usually do is I'll download it into Microsoft Excel, so you can kind of filter and sort how ways in which may be relevant for your business. So I would check that out. You'll see a lot of great information in there. If you have any questions about that, I often will, I can help you with navigating some of the searches within that Open Book. And I mentioned earlier on the next page, we'll look at the Opportunities ebook. This is just a little bit more detailed. You see the web link there. It's a comprehensive directory of all the state agencies and public authorities. It's a great resource. So if you want to do business with agencies and you want to connect with procurement people, most of those are listed on their agency pages. So please take a look at that. A lot of great information in there. So on the next slide, I mentioned a couple of these already. As far as capital programs that we offer, these are specific towards MWBE firms. The Bridge to Success Loan Program is a great program because if you're experienced with working with New York State, or you may be familiar with the state, when there's a big lag time between the completion of their project and when you get paid. 60 days or sometimes even longer. So Bridge to Success allows MWBE firms to access capital to sort of bridge that gap, that sort of gap between when you get paid for your goods or services. So it's a good program. A lot of small businesses need that, additional capital to sort of bridge that gap. And the New York Surety Bond Assistance Program provides technical and financial assistance to help contractors secure surety bonds. And, it can guarantee up to 30% bonding for New York State certified MWBE. And then the Link Deposit Program is also eligible, a program that's eligible for eligible businesses to obtain loans. And typically they'll have favorable rates below standard rates that you would find in your bank, up to 3 percentage points for MWBEs. And again, these are through various lenders. So the rates will vary, but again, there's a benefit for certified firms up to 3 percentage points. So that's a nice favorable, that can be a favorable loan for you. So those are the main programs. I realize this was sort of a quick overview. My contact information, you'll see on the next slide. That's my phone number as well as my email. I told Mike that we often do in-person workshops. As I mentioned, we'll be up there in Potsdam, but we could do another webinar that goes more in depth into some of these areas in the future. So I look forward to. I want to thank Mike and everyone at the St. Lawrence Chamber for having me. And again, I apologize for any delay in the presentation. But so now, Mike, I'll be, if you'd like, we could open up for some questions.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. I'll open the floor up for questions. We haven't received any at this time, so we'll just give everyone a couple minutes here.
Yeah.
Also wanted to note that I will make these slides available on our website, and I can also email them to everyone that attended the webinar today, so you can access those links easier.
Okay, and yes, and of course I'm always available directly as well. But you also see if you have, if you're in the process of certifying, you see the certification email there as well. You feel free to direct your questions directly to them as well. And then my business development team has their own phone number there. The rest of my team's in New York, whereas I'm based in Syracuse. So, but as always, feel free to contact me directly.
Thanks, Ryan, and thank you for your time and sharing your expertise with us today. While we wait to see if we receive any questions, I'd like to spotlight next month's webinar, which will be on Wednesday, June 5th. We'll have Patty Hogle from the Cancer Prevention and Action Coordinator with the St. Lawrence County Health Initiative. In this webinar, we'll explore the burden of cancer in the workplace and how employers can impact the health of their employees and save money by taking a few simple steps. You can register for this webinar now on our website at slcchamber.org or on our Facebook page. This webinar, as well as all other webinars, are recorded and uploaded to our website at slcchamber.org and accessed by clicking the archived webinars in the right-hand menu. Ryan, I think you covered a great deal of information today, and so far we haven't had any questions. So if anyone does have questions after we log off, feel free to email me at mike@slcchamber.org, and I can route those to Ryan. Thank you all for your time, and thank you, Ryan. Okay. Have a great afternoon.
Okay, thank you, Mike.